Yo, what's going on, man? Today is January 19th, 2024. It's your boy Chris, and this is the ChrisBeCappinn NBA show, the early bird edition. I told you guys I was going to start doing some morning shows, and I feel like the people have finally gotten what they want. So do me a favor as you guys join. As always, hit the like button for me if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and definitely turn the notification bell on so you guys know when I go live, especially when I'm doing it, a little bit off schedule. I will still be doing a show at 5 p.m. Eastern as always, but kind of wanted to give you guys some early looks. Lines move throughout the night, throughout the morning, a large part of the day. And as I said in yesterday's video, I will be having to do some morning shows for a whole week coming up here in the beginning of February. So kind of trial run, kind of test run, actually going back to getting everything put on podcast as well. So you guys can download the podcast and, flesh through the information throughout the day. The concept of these morning shows is to kind of give you guys some initial thoughts. I've told you guys before, I recommend, just from my personal experience, I recommend, making some of these bets a little bit later in the day, just because trade, like around this time of the season, just because we get so much trade information, and it could be a lot. It could be a lot throughout the day. One trade can really throw everything off. We saw that with Pascal Siakam the other day. Miami Heat absolutely didn't come to play in that game. So couldn't talk anybody off waiting. Let's jump into and also one play yesterday for me, just on a quick recap. We are on a little bit of a heater. I think I've won 11 of my last 14 bets. I think we have like maybe 2 losses on the week. So definitely looking to kind of keep that going. And we're trending in the right direction for sure. So hidden live plays. If you guys want access to all my plays, they are in my YouTube membership group. $5.99 a month to get you $5.99 to get you access to all my plays. So run the like button up for me if you can. If you're interested in joining the membership group, link is posted in the description. And feel free to DM me if you guys have any questions at ChrisBeCappinn 2 P's 2 N's over on Twitter also. So let's get into it for today. One play, like I said yesterday, was the Wizards team total under. A little sweaty at the end, but we do get some cash there. And that was the only thing that I absolutely love, which is why I kind of gave you guys that. Quality over quantity is the motto that I like to use. And before we jump into it, I want to shout out the sponsors always, OddsJam. We just made some money with OddsJam 2 days ago, but yesterday as well, because you're always going through finding the best line. Always I'm using the Sportsbook screen page. If you guys want to see what that looks like, maybe I'll do a demo real quick to kind of show you guys what that looks like. But if you tune into any of the evening shows, you've seen me use the software before. Just kind of looking through everything, player props, totals, sides, points, rebounds, and assists, who has the best, which sportsbook has the best projection for odds on, players double-double or triple-double, whatever you want, whatever you're kind of looking for. So definitely check out OddsJam if you guys are interested in, closing line value or beating the number every single time, because that's where you'll do it at. 25% off your first month with code CBC as well. Let's jump into it for today, man. That's what you guys are here for. First game up, we are going to Charlotte, North Carolina. We got the Spurs getting 4.5 points, 4 points. We'll call it 4. 4 points right now. The Charlotte Hornets laying 4 points, which is completely scary to me. This total actually opened at 234.5. I saw this go all the way up to 238 last night. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why is the total going up? This was like as soon as I finished the show last night. I'm like, why is this total going up so high? Totally forgetting that I had already read that Victor Wembanyama is going to be out in this game. He will not participate in this game. And of course, that's going to, inflate the total a lot. But you see the bad back coming in because neither one of these offenses have been necessarily the greatest offense, over the last few games. So for San Antonio, it's the first leg of a back-to-back. They actually play in DC against the Washington Wizards tomorrow, and Victor Wembanyama will be active for that game. This is the third game of a 4-game road trip for them, off 2 straight losses and non-covers. They lost to Boston, got smoked by Boston, didn't cover the first quarter, first half, or full game. And they also got smoked by Atlanta as well. Didn't cover the first quarter, first half, or full game in that one either. Now, on the opposite side for Charlotte, I'm not going to talk about this game for a long time, but I did do some diving because I think you can find some pretty good spots in these ugly games sometimes. But not right now. Not for Charlotte, not for San Antonio for me. Charlotte, 1-9 straight up in their last 10, 2-8 against the spread. They've lost 6 straight, failed to cover all 6 games. First game of a back-to-back. This is the first game back home for them after a 3-game road trip. First leg of a back-to-back for them as well. They actually host Philly tomorrow, and Philly beat them by a lot. I think they beat them by like 40 the last time. I remember Joel Embiid just getting whatever it is that he wanted. I think he had like a 25 and 10 double-double before halftime in that game. The Hornets haven't won a home game since December the 8th. So it's been over a month and a week since the last time this team actually beat the Toronto Raptors, upset the Toronto Raptors. And they only have their only victory in the last 18 games actually came against the Sacramento Kings when they won that game by 15, when they won as 15.5-point underdogs. So now LaMelo Ball's back. He gets a couple games underneath his belt. I think it's his third game back. I look for so many ways to kind of back this game or to find an angle in this game on a total on the side. I couldn't quite get there. And all my research kind of landed me on 2 player props that I'm looking at, potentially 3 player props. The first one, LaMelo Ball. Points actually gone up just a tad bit. I think it opened at 25.5. He's up to 20. It's 25.5, but you're going to lay like minus 135 looking at LaMelo Ball points. But 26.5 is available on Bet Rivers at minus 108. I haven't locked this in yet. I could potentially get there. I haven't been doing a lot of player props just because players have been so inconsistent, kind of hard to gauge, which is why I've been sticking to the size and the totals. But LaMelo is coming off a 26-point, 11-rebound game against the Pelicans in New Orleans in this last game. He's shooting 19 times per game since his return in those three games so far, and he gets a fast-paced matchup. We know the Spurs without Victor Wembanyama is even faster. Charlotte, really needs a home win, and in the worst way. And he has had 28 and 29 in 2 of his 3 games since returning from the injury as well. The other player prop that I'm looking at is Nick Richards. I think his double-double is pretty sneaky today, plus 165 on FanDuel. He's coming off a game against the Pelicans, who has much more length, much more size, with Jonas Valanciunas and Larry Nance Jr. and Zion down there than this San Antonio team that will be without a lot of his key pieces. He had 10 points and 12 rebounds in that game. Now he gets the San Antonio team without Victor Wembanyama. Prior to that double-double in this last game, he actually had at least 8 rebounds in 7 straight games that were played this month. And he has double-digit points in 4 of his last 8 games as well. So high-paced matchup. We know Mark Williams just continues to be out. I think he's dealing with, it's a back injury. So I like the opportunities here. Zach Collins also out. I'm not sure what San Antonio is going to do at the center position, but Nick Richards is listed as questionable for this game. Brandon Miller also listed as questionable for this game. Bryce McGowan's also listed as questionable for this game. You're still without Gordon Hayward. I'm definitely not laying points with the Hornets. The last time they were fit, I think they've been favorites 3 times this season, and they've lost every single game outright. I want to say those games came against. I had looked into this. They were favored against the Wizards. They were favored against Detroit. I think they were favored against the Wizards twice. Lost both and lost to the Wizards. They lost to those. They lost to those teams for sure. And then I looked at San Antonio without Victor Wembanyama. I think they're 2-4 against the spread, but they're 0-6 straight up. So they haven't won a game. They're giving up about 125 points per game as well in that spot. So I don't know what to do with this game. It's not a game that I'm betting. Just wanted to kind of give you guys some insight and some knowledge on the game. And then on the opposite side of the ball, I do think you got to look at Devin Vassell, right? Devin Vassell has been absolutely killing it. Charlotte doesn't have anyone that's going to be able to slow him down. He's got a ball in his hands to get a lot of volume in this game as well. Him, guys like Keldon Johnson, maybe even Trey Jones could absolutely go crazy. This is a game for props for sure, but I'm not a big prop player. So we'll keep moving. Next game up, we got 76ers and we got Magic. This game will be played in Orlando tonight. So looking at the Philly side, this is their first road game after 3 straight home games, first leg of a back-to-back. I just talked about them playing in Charlotte tomorrow. And they also coming off a really, really big win, right? It's not necessarily a spot you want to back. We know that they had to get up. They had to fight for that game because they really struggled with the rebound in the basketball in that last game. And they honestly, you could say if it wasn't for that Denver kind of turning the ball over late in that game, they could have potentially lost that game. I think it was a game of runs, and Denver just couldn't score at the end of that game. So we did hit correctly on Philly in that spot. And that kind of worries me just a tad bit because it was such a big game. So typically, in Jokic versus Embiid, typically you see a letdown in the next game. But I still like Philly in this spot, man. Philly, an 8 road games so far with Embiid this season as a favorite. They have only played 1 team with a winning record. I think, some of those numbers can be a little misleading because they've been playing against some cupcakes. The Thunder was the only team that they actually played against that had a winning record on the road. They are 8-0 straight up, 6-2 against the spread, winning those games by average of 16 points with Embiid in there on the road as a favorite. They're allowing just 108.8 points per game in this spot as well. We know that they still be without DeAnthony Melton for the next few weeks. We know that, Robert Covington is going to miss the next few games as well. That's one of the reasons why I don't like Philly as much in this spot. But I think it's more so for me a fade of Orlando because I did play Philly minus the 4.5 last night. Gave it out to the members as well on BetMGM, and the line has moved to 5 right now, but it's kind of staying at 5. Books, the total did come down from 223 to 222.5, so not a lot of movement there. And I'm not sure what to do with the total. And the reason why I say that is because looking at the Orlando side, this is the first game back home for them after a 4-game road trip. So typically a spot you want to fade. They are losers of 4 of their last 5, but they have covered 2 games in a row. 6-1 to the under this season without Franz Wagner, who will miss this game, and they're only averaging about 104 points per game without him. And that to me is the key in this one. I think Philly's going to be able to score the ball. I know Orlando is a really good defensive team. I know that they'll be frustrated because they did lose on a game winner to DeJounte Murray in a game where they probably felt like they should have won, even though Paolo hit an amazing three-pointer to even put him in that position to even tie the game. So I kind of feel like, looking at the head-to-head, Philly is 1-0 straight up and against the spread this season. They beat them 112-92 as 2-point dogs in that game. And that game actually went under the total of 229. So now you see the total come down a lot. And like I said, I think Orlando's going to struggle in this game, specifically to score the ball. Philly comes out, plays the type of defense that they know how to play, which they didn't do in that last game. They gave a bunch of wide open threes, bunch of offensive rebounds. I think Jokic had double-digit offensive rebounds in that game. So I think that Philly, just because it's more so for me a fade over Orlando. I do think they're going to have their hands full with, trying to guard Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey should have a big game. I can see some of those other role players stepping up as well. So I did lay the 4.5. It's only a half-unit play for me, not the most confident play, but I do think that Philly should be able to take care of business today. Let's go on. So now we got Nuggets and we got Celtics. This line's actually moved. They opened at 5.5 last night. It went to 6 quickly. It went to 6.5 even quicker. And now you see primarily a bunch of 7s. Total moving up just a tad bit. It opened at 233.5. It's up to 234, 234.5 on some books as well. For Boston, we know that they rested Derek White and Porzingis in their last game. Both of those guys are listed as probable on the injury report today. I didn't see anything on the injury report for Denver on the Denver side. Aaron Gordon looking like he's probable. They'll be without Strouter, who's missed the last handful of games for them as well. So looking into this game, man, we know Boston is undefeated at home, 20-0 straight up, 13-7 against the spread. This is their second straight home game. They smoked the San Antonio Spurs, like I talked about earlier, in their most recent home game. And then they actually start a road trip on Sunday. They actually play in Houston. Quick revenge spot for Houston in that game because we know that they just played last Saturday. Looking at Denver, this team is 11-10 straight up on the road. Only 7-14 against the spread as well. We know that they were without a couple of those key guys in their starting rotation. This is a second straight road game with at least 3 more road games coming up as well. So they're not necessarily in the greatest spot, but with the spread being 7, I know Boston is good. Don't get me wrong. And Boston does win and cover these short numbers. I wouldn't say short numbers. I would say that Boston's typically laying double digits at home. When you look at Boston as a single-digit home favorite, they are typically covering spreads. Those games are also going towards the under as well. Head-to-head, these teams have not played this season, of course. Both teams last season, however, did win in their home gym, and both teams won by double digits as well. So maybe people are looking back and thinking, Boston's in a pretty great spot. Boston they are at the rest disadvantage. Denver played 2. They had 2 days. They come into this game with 2 days of rest, whereas Boston only comes in with 1 day of rest. Granted, a lot of those players didn't have to play late into the fourth quarter, and they get a couple guys back in that rotation. The last 3 meetings have gone to the over as well. To me, and I just wanted to kind of give you guys those notes. To me, I would be looking at Boston. I don't like the number at 7. I think it's you're paying a premium with Boston. Is Denver going to be motivated after losing to Philly the other day and having the rest advantage in this spot? I think so. But if I was going to play the game, I would have wanted to get the 5.5, and I wasn't extremely confident in the 5.5. That, if I'm being honest with you guys. One thing I looked at, and this goes back to what I talked about and why I like Philly in the last game that these 2 teams played against, and that was, looking at 2 teams, 2 upper level teams. I'm talking about like, top teams that win 60% of their games or more. When you look at those teams and the home team is the favorite, this is just something that I've been tracking since the start of last season. It's been really, really profitable just to take the home favorite. 2 teams, non-conference games, and both teams have a superior winning record, 60% or better. Since the start of last season, before the All-Star break, those teams are 34-8 straight up, 26-15-1 against the spread. That's 63.4% says that Boston wins and covers the number today. If this game was in Denver, I'd be saying the same thing. I'd be taking Denver, right? Any of these upper echelon teams that go on the road and they're road dogs, typically not the spot you want to back them in, especially if it's a non-conference game. 26-16 to the over is that same trend as well. So you see, especially before the All-Star break, not a lot of defense being played in these upper level games. This was the same thing that happened with Philly and Denver the other day as well. Both teams kind of let down defensively. We saw a big letdown defensively from both teams. So don't want to, talk about the game too much, but I would play the over in this game to kind of stay away from the side. You guys can look at player props. I didn't really dive too much into player props in this game. I do think that Boston is the right side. Not going to get there with laying 7. I think it's a tad bit too many points. And if I had a top play in the game, it will be on the over 234. I know Boston's been really good defensively. I also know Denver's been really good defensively. But if I'm playing the game, I'm looking at both teams to be able to score in this spot. Those are my thoughts there. Let's keep going. A game I do got some interest in. A lot of interest in, actually. We got the Pelicans. They will be at home today hosting the Phoenix Suns. Line in this one opened at 2. I saw it go up to 2.5 last night. And wanted to jump in on it as well. The total opened at 230. What was it? 234.5, and money did come in on the over 237. I would agree with the notion of the money coming in on the over in this spot, just because Phoenix is playing a lot of offense, but not a lot of defense in this spot. Looking at Phoenix and looking at the injury report, this is a pretty clean injury report for both teams. You got Phoenix coming in, they're 7-9-1 against the spread on the road, just 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games overall. New Orleans has been cooking, man. 13-8 straight up and against the spread at home, 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games. We see them lose to Dallas. They come back home. I think they hit a franchise record in 3-pointers in their last game. I think they hit 25. You see guys absolutely go off. Jordan Hawkins, Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram had a triple-double in that last game as well against Charlotte. And you get a much better, offensive game from your opponent. But to me, if I'm looking at these teams, I just don't. I've been saying this for a while. Phoenix doesn't play a lot of defense, and I can't take them in this spot. I did take New Orleans on the money line in this game last night, -130 on DraftKings. Official play for me. Gave it out to the members as well. Phoenix has won 3 in a row, but they failed to cover their last 2. They overcame that 21-point fourth-quarter deficit versus the Sacramento Kings in their last game. They did have 2 days off in between before this game as well, so you get some prep time in. For New Orleans, second game back home, they don't play again until Tuesday. So they get to exert all the energy. They don't even have a weekend game at all. They don't play until Tuesday. They get all that time to kind of protect their home court and, a step-up game. I went through and kind of looked at it. The Pelicans are let me just put this in real quick because I didn't write the numbers down. I was capping this game late last night. I wanted to give you guys the numbers real quick. So the Pelicans this season, it was a couple things. First of all, I really wanted to fade the Phoenix Suns after having to exert so much energy to come back in that last game. So, and then the other thing was just looking at the Pelicans at home games when their opponent has a really good win percentage. And I know right now Phoenix doesn't have a good win percentage, but they're projected to have a good winning percentage when they have all their guys in. Phoenix is 6-3 straight up. I'm sorry, New Orleans 6-3 straight up. Against teams that have a 55% win percentage or better, 7-2 against the number, and they're beating teams by about 7 points per game. The last home loss that they had against a upper echelon team was actually against the Clippers. I don't think that this Phoenix Suns team is on the Clippers level. They lost to the Timberwolves by 1 point as well. That was back on November the 18th. But this team's been balling. I'm not looking to fade the Pelicans anytime soon unless they're in a really bad travel spot. And like I said, not in the worst travel spot here. Also, the other thing I was just kind of talking about was, a team, playing against a team that blew a really, really big lead. And just going back to the 2019 season, teams that overcame a 20-point deficit to win that game. And then the next game, they're on the road as a dog. They're just 12-33 straight up, 26.7%. So that's 73.74. I'm sorry. 73.3%. My fault. 73.3%. says to fade that team. And I like the Pelicans in this spot. I think that they're a much more physical team. I think that they have the defenders to throw at, at Kevin Durant, at Bradley Beal, slow down Devin Booker. We know that there's some history between these two teams as well. Maybe not with all of the players that are on the teams right now, but Devin Booker, CJ McCollum, even guys like Jose Alvarado, they were a part of that. And just because CP3 isn't there, I think that there's still some fire in the Pelicans against this Phoenix Suns team going back to 2 years ago when they met in the playoffs. So give me the Pelicans in this spot on the money line. The number has moved against me, so you can get a better number on the money line. You should be able to, but I'm on the Pelicans in this spot. Next game up, we are going to the streets of Miami. We got the Miami Heat laying 6.5. Line actually opened at 5.5. Total opened at 234.5. Total come all the way down to 227. So a lot of money coming in on the under in this spot, and I think it's for good reason. First and foremost, looking at the injury report, Trae Young could potentially miss this game. He is questionable with an illness. For Miami, they should get Kevin Love back. He's listed as questionable. Not sure if he's going to play. Jaime Jaquez Jr. is listed as doubtful with that groin injury. Not sure if he's going to play in this game either. Looking at Atlanta, and I'll give you guys all the numbers and trends. I don't really think it matters. I do have a play in this game, and I honestly, the numbers and trends don't. Everything that I'm going to tell you after the numbers and trends supersede what I'm going to tell you guys with the numbers and trends. But looking at Atlanta, they're 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games. They are coming off 2 back-to-back straight up wins. Like I said, DeJounte Murray hit that game winner the other day, and that kind of ties into the play that I'm going to talk about. This team is 6-14 against the spread on the road, which is actually better than at home, but it's still far from being profitable. This is a standalone road game for them as well. This first leg of a back-to-back. They actually host the Cleveland Cavaliers tomorrow. Looking at Miami, 8-11 against the spread on the road. First game back home for them off a 2-game road trip. Never really showed up in that game on Toronto. We had them paired with the money line with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they just got smoked in that game. They never led. They trailed 78-43 at halftime. That was a franchise record for a halftime deficit for this Miami Heat. If I know anything about Spoelstra, I think he's probably going to get his guys motivated in this spot. And this is why, let's go to the head-to-head perspective. So Miami has beat this team twice already this season and covered both games. The total is actually 8-2 to the under in the last 10 matchups as well, including 3 straight unders, which is why you probably see, this total going under. Miami's been a really good rebounding team. They've been a really good defensive team. Outside of that last game where, they just got punched in the mouth and was never able to recover. They didn't guard the three-point line well at all. I think you fade Atlanta in this spot. I do. Now, it's not the greatest spot because they're not profitable laying points at home. So the way I chose to play this one was I like the first half. I think it's a really, really big bounce back spot for Atlanta in the first half. Outside of them, having a deficit, a 35-point halftime deficit, I think that they come to play in this game, which was the largest deficit, like I said, in franchise history. Also, think it's important to mention, this is Udonis Haslem jersey retirement night, right? So you're going to have all of the guys there. I was going through and reading the beat reporter stuff on this. Guys like Jason Williams, Goran Dragic, Darrell Wright, Tim Hardaway Jr., Mario Chalmers, Dwayne Wade, Quentin Richardson, Shane Battier, all those guys are going to be in attendance. We just saw Dwayne Wade be honored at halftime in the Charlotte game, and Miami come out there and blast the Charlotte Hornets. So they got all kind of revenge, all kind of, angles to really take this game serious. I think that they're going to want to show out for a guy like Udonis Haslem getting his jersey retired tonight. So give me Miami in the first half. Like I said, it's not really based on the trends and the stats, but they do kind of back it as well. -3.5 is the number that I got. Last 5 games, Atlanta is just 1-4, straight up 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 games. Atlanta 1-4 against the spread in the first half of the last 5 games. Miami not better, not too much better, 3-2, but they are 13-6 against the spread in the first half at home this season, which is the 4th best. Last 10 games, they're 7-3 against the spread in the first half, which is the 2nd best. But like I said, I think you can toss all the numbers out. You can put them in the trash because the way Miami played last game, I do think that they bounce back in this spot. Also, you got to turn up for UD, man. He's getting his jersey retired. So Udonis has them a jersey retirement night. You got a little bit of narrative. You also got them coming off a really bad performance. And you want to fade Atlanta with DeJounte Murray hitting that game winner the other day. I do, anyway. So that's the way I chose to play this game. I haven't even given that one out to the members, but it's kind of letting you guys know how I like that. Real quick, I don't even think I got a bottle of water down here with me, but let me take a pause for a second. Do me a favor, hit the like button for me if you guys can. If you join late, just kind of breaking down the early card, giving you guys some looks, before these numbers start to change. Keep in mind, like I said earlier, things can change, at the blink of an eye. People can get traded, people can get downgraded to out. Couldn't talk anybody off putting their bets in, absolutely last, but right before game time. But that's the way I'm kind of looking at it right now. Let's see. So hit the like button for me if you can. We got 2 more games to get through. And I will chop this up and kind of make it so you guys can get chapters and hear my analysis on each game. We'll be doing a show at 5 p.m. Eastern as well. Next game up, let's go to the streets of Portland. Portland Trailblazers getting 5 at the crib tonight against the Indiana Pacers. Not a game that I'm really interested in betting. The Pacers are light years better than this Portland Trailblazer team. The Blazers did get an outright win against the Brooklyn Nets the other day. I talked about really liking them in that game. I know a lot of people didn't like them, but can't lay points with the Nets right now. We'll talk about them in a second. The Blazers are getting 5. This game actually opened at 2.5 last night. As soon as the Indiana Pacers won, this game opened at 5.5. Now, Pascal Siakam was in Indiana yesterday to clear his physical and all that good stuff. He will be with the team. I'm pretty sure he got on a flight either last night or night before last. I think this is, Indiana. I don't want to lay points with him just because it's second leg of a back-to-back, and you could have got a much better number last night when it's opened at 2.5, 3. But, I mean, it's the only way I would be able to look in this game. I know that, for people who don't know, DeAndre Ayton missed the last game. He said he couldn't get out the house. He was stuck because there was ice on the ground. So he called in to work against the Brooklyn Nets. He should return in this game. But Indiana's a well-coached team, man. With Halliburton there, without Halliburton there. I think if I'm playing the game, this team is 7-1 against the spread in their last 10. Like I said, don't necessarily want to back them, especially, when you win as a dog. Sacramento got a lot going on right now, 4-game losing streak for them. They get a couple days off to kind of get themselves together. Also, you got all those guys that was on the injury report, still on the injury report for today. Nembhard listed as questionable with their shin injury. With the spine injury. Nesmith questionable with the shin injury. Siakam should I think he's going to play today. We'll see how that goes. And it's not a game that I'm super comfortable in. I do think that you could moneyline parlay the Indiana Pacers. I don't think that they're going to lose this game. Maybe you put them with the Lakers. Maybe you put them with the Heat to win. And that's something that I'll be working on throughout the day, probably a little bit more later. And I'll share that with the members a little bit later tonight. So no official play for me. Didn't really, like I said, take too much of a dive into this game. I do think that, not necessarily one of the back teams with no rest, but I'm not looking towards Portland in this game either. Total to me seems pretty appropriate. Pacers actually play, to the beat of the other team's drum. And Portland's not a fast-paced team, so I could look towards the under in this spot. But then you're relying on Indiana to play defense. And Portland is a slow-paced team. I guess that's the way I'm looking, but I'm really just talking at this point. So I'll stop talking about this game. But I do think you can moneyline parlay the Indiana Pacers with something else tonight for sure. That's the way I would probably try to get the Pacers, get some action in on the Pacers without having looked too deep into the game. Let's see. So, yeah, Indiana plays Phoenix coming up, and then Portland, third straight home game. They actually play the Lakers on Sunday in LA. So last game of a homestand as well. Let's go last game on the board. We got the Lakers and we have the Nets. Talking to my guy Munoz about this one last night. This line actually opened at 6.5 for the Lakers. Money come in on it overnight as I anticipated, and the Lakers are now 7-point favorites. You see this total drop from 229 down to 229.5 down to 227. Makes a lot of sense. The Brooklyn Nets are not good right now. 1-9 straight up, 1-8-1 against the spread in their last 10, 7-3 to the under, and mostly because they're not able to score the ball. This team, just for whatever reason, they cannot score the ball right now. The outside shots aren't necessarily falling. The Lakers have actually picked it up on the defensive end. Back-to-back wins for them over the Dallas Mavericks and the Oklahoma City Thunder in their most recent games, and they need to stack up these wins. They've allowed just 107.5 points per game in their last 2 games. And those were against 2 good offenses. The Dallas Mavericks and Oklahoma City Thunder both rank in the top 10 offensively. So I'm not sure, I couldn't look towards Brooklyn in this spot. I think the Lakers are in a groove right now. They're coming off 2 straight home games. They got another home game coming up against Portland, like I just kind of talked about. And since Darvin Ham has switched the lineup back up to, the lineup that they played in the playoffs last season, they're shooting the ball a ton better. I think a lot of it, big credit has to go to D'Angelo Russell, who I've been a big critic of, just because I think he's terrible against defensive teams, against teams that, can really score the ball. But looking at this team, this Brooklyn team, they're not scoring the ball right now. So I would only be able to lay the points with the Lakers in this spot. If I wanted to get involved, I definitely would have laid the 6.5 versus the 7. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, but I like getting the best of the number. Like I said, the Nets have been god awful, and they couldn't even get revenge against the Blazers in their last game. I couldn't go near them with a 10-foot pole right now. Their offense has been really bad. They're 24th offensive rating last 5 games, bottom 5 in pace, bottom 10 in rebounding as well. Player prop type game, Anthony Davis has had a triple-double, and he missed it by 1 assist, I think, in his last game. I'd be looking at Anthony Davis assists. I'd be looking at LeBron James assists. I'd be looking at Lakers team total potentially to go over. Brooklyn team total to go under. I think it's 110.5. The problem I have with that is that the Lakers have been playing at such a fast pace, even though their defense has been good. They're the fastest paced team, I want to say, or at least top 5 in pace, top 3 in pace over the last handful of games. And it's primarily because they're playing really good defense and they're getting out in transition. You see guys like Austin Reeves, guys like D'Angelo Russell, guys like LeBron James just really pushing the pace and getting early shots in transition. And those 3-pointers are starting to fall. Guys like Taurean Prince, guys like Christian Wood, even Anthony Davis is hitting jump shots at this juncture. LeBron jump shot looking pretty good. So I know it's pretty square, but I'd be laying the 7 with the Lakers if I'm playing this game. Also looking towards Brooklyn potentially to go under the team total, just not something I feel confident in. So those are the top looks, man. Those are the top looks. Like I said, if you join late, hit the like button for me if you can. I've been on for 32 minutes, almost 33 minutes. I'll run through the card one more time for you guys, let you guys know what I'm looking at. Still will be doing a show at 5 p.m. Eastern as well. Spurs and Hornets. I think if I had to play the game, man, that'd be a player prop game for me. It'd be LaMelo over his points. It'd be Nick Richards, double-double at plus 165 on FanDuel as well. And on the opposite side, I'm looking at Devin Vassell to go over his points in that game. But I didn't play any of them, just kind of giving you guys the looks. Yesterday, I talked about my favorite player prop was Vucevic over his rebounds. Finished the game with 13 rebounds. I don't even know what the line was set at, but I knew I won 12.5. So you definitely would have cashed if you took that one. I didn't even take it, though. 76ers and Magic, I talked about that game. Give me Philly minus the 4.5. Not a big play, but I do like Philly in this spot. And it's more so a fate of Orlando without Franz Wagner. I just think that they're going to struggle. I think Philly has too much offense in this game. And I think they can win by multiple possessions. Nuggets and Celtics, spread got a little too big for me. I wasn't super comfortable laying the 5.5, but couldn't talk anybody off once won the latest 7 with the Celtics in this spot. I'll be looking towards the total to go over 234, though. I do think the Nuggets can score. I do think the Celtics can score as well. Suns and Pelicans, my top play of the day is the Pelicans on the money line. I talked about it. If you join late, you can go back and listen to the analysis. Give me the Pelicans here in this spot. Heat and Hawks. Give me the Heat in the first half specifically. Minus 3.5. Minus 110 is what I got the odds over on BetMGM. Lock that in right before the show started. You can wait. There's potential trade news going on for both of these teams and amongst each other. DeJounte Murray could be traded to the Heat. Trae Young could be traded. A lot of Kyle Lowry could be traded. If you guys are paying attention to the trade rumors, you know that, it's a lot of trade rumors going on. I don't care. Give me the Heat in this game. First half, minus the 3.5. Couldn't talk anybody off waiting, though, but already locked in the Heat. Could also wait on the Trae Young news. If he gets ruled out, they may play better without him, but the line will move up and you'll get a much worse number on the Heat. If Trae Young gets ruled in, this line could potentially come down. You get a better number with the Heat. I don't care. I played it already. Pacers and the Blazers. Like I said, no play for me in this game. Potentially one to, parlay the Pacers money line with the Nets money line, with the maybe even the Heat money line. But no play for me on that game. And then Nets and Lakers, not a game that I'm interested in playing either, but I would only be laying the points with the Lakers in this spot. Potential look towards the Nets on their team total to go under, Lakers team total to go over maybe, but not anything that I feel super confident in. Best of luck to you guys today. Smash that like button for me on your way out. Be back at 5 p.m. Eastern, man.